Easy, boys. Easy does it. Throw down that box. Please. We wouldn't want to spook the horses. Let me take that lockbox off your hands and you can be on your merry way.
Blackboard!
Ah!
I won't miss.
Looking dapper as usual today.
Thank you, William.
Thank you, sir. Business must be good.
Yes, it is, William. Yes, it is.
On the North American plains, opportunity calls men of courage to chase the sun west into a new frontier. They would shape a nation, lay hold of their destiny, and birth a new mythology. But with the passing of time, every myth has its reckoning. Black Bart. The name conjures images of a surly stagecoach robber.
Go down that box.
And notorious bandit. A violent outlaw, ready to kill. But behind every bandit stands a man. And behind every legend lies the truth.
Charles Bowles, also known as Black Bart, is the most eccentric stagecoach bandit in the history of the West. And yet, his story is unfamiliar to most of us. Unlike the brazen outlaw killers of his day, this gentleman bandit never fires a single shot. Bowles is a man driven by revenge who masks his identity. Instead of leaving trails of blood, he leaves behind verses of poetry.
Keep a weather eye on those rocks, Charles.
Stay warm and take care of Robert, and I'll tend to this.
In 1848, gold is discovered in the foothills of the Sierra Madres. By 1849, tens of thousands of men, known as the 49ers, are swarming into Northern California. One of those 49ers is an ambitious young man named Charles Bowles, who convinces his brothers to join him on the gold rush.
I think there's probably more up this way.
Charles and his brothers, they had been barn raisers in New York, and none of them liked farming life, and they couldn't wait to get out to the gold fields in California.
Hey, get some help! Help, anybody!
For many fortune seekers, like the Bowles brothers, the hope of striking it rich moves them to endure incredible hardships and sacrifice. They camp along the riverbeds in squalid conditions, giving rise to waterborne diseases like cholera and typhoid, which often result in death.
Johnny boy, come take a gander.
Are you kidding me?
We got it.
You got it!
Some strike it rich, but Charles Bowles is not as lucky. After months of mining, he not only fails to find gold, He loses both of his brothers to illness they contract in the camps.
Charles was devastated. He had been the one to truly want to come out to California. He felt guilty. He was a restless soul. That played very heavily into the choices he made later on.
Bowles heads back east, a broken man, eventually stopping in Illinois, where he takes a job on a farm and soon marries.
On the one hand, you have the adventure of searching for gold and perhaps making a fortune versus working on a farm, the tedium of tilling and harvesting and seeding that to him was not quite as attractive.
Frustrated with his farming lifestyle, Bowles is haunted by his failure as a miner and dreams of striking it rich. When word of a Montana gold rush reaches Charles, his gold fever returns. Bowles leaves his family and sets out for Montana on foot.
There's an interesting aspect to Bowles' life. It is said that he had an aversion to horses. When he enlisted in the military, he volunteered for the infantry, presumably so he wouldn't have to ride a horse.
It's likely Bowles' fear of horses is triggered by a fall. Still, he doesn't let his fear hamper his service to the Union.
What you might not expect is that Charles Bowles is a respected Civil War soldier. Wounded while fighting for the Federal Army, he returns to battle and is even with General Sherman on his brutal march to the sea.
To march with Sherman's army, you certainly are fit. He was very demanding of his soldiers. And being able to understand what trails will get you where, what trails could be easily ambushed, and therefore you set up defenses for them at the proper places, that would be of value to someone who later becomes known as Black Bart.
After 2 years of panning for other miners, Bowles is finally able to stake his own claim to a riverside plot he's sure will make his sacrifice worth it. But as word of Montana riches spreads, the competition for claims increases.
Pardon. Good day to you, sir. The usual, please. Oh, and this.
Well, that'll be 3 cents. Or 10 cents for express service.
What's that?
Well, you can thank Mr. Wells and Mr. Fargo. They just bought me out.
Seems like they aim to buy up the whole territory.
Large companies rush to capitalize on local strikes and eliminate the competition, buying up businesses and all the land surrounding successful claims.
There was mining going on in various sections of Montana. He did have a claim where he was in competition with other people also setting up claims, and there was a lot of violence that was occurring around him.
Mr. Bowles!
Welcome, gentlemen. What can I do for you?
We'd like to make you an offer.
We want to buy your claim.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Good day.
Doesn't look like much is coming.
There'll be plenty just as soon as the water comes up. Good day.
It'd be a shame if it didn't.
Wells Fargo is already consolidating its stage lines through new mining towns in Idaho, Utah, and Montana. Now, rumors the company has plans to go into the mining business make Bowles suspicious. Just days after he receives an offer for his claim, the water supply dries up. Bowles is convinced it's no coincidence.
What Wells Fargo did is divert the stream from which Bowles was panning the gold to where he was forced to abandon his gold mine.
For Charles Bowles, the Montana claim is likely his best chance for success. But when the water slows, his claim becomes worthless. Many historians believe that this is the moment he sets his sights on Wells Fargo, making the company out to be responsible for his misfortune.
The hard-working miner and former Union soldier with dreams of striking it rich has just made a bold decision to exact revenge on one of the most powerful forces in the West.